Many people, including myself, have just watched and been ultimately disappointed by the final season and finale of Game of Thrones. I didn't read the books, but still felt compelled to cheekily sign the petition that asked for Season 8 to be redone. Now, I understand this will never be accepted, but wanted to add my name to a petition that showed a welling disappointment among fans about how the respect of an epic story was ultimately rushed to its conclusion. Now, like I said, I never read the books. Like any person with too many irons and too many fires, I was given the first 3 and had every intention of reading them, but found myself one night reading the same paragraph over and over on about page 60 and went to sleep, never really picking it up again. That's not to say I have no time for a compelling story though. I may not be a connoisseur of the arts, but I know a decent story doesn't need 50 shades of a boring colour, and a true bard's opus wouldn't go along the lines of I am blue da-ba-dee-ba-da-ba. However, as a devotee of this TV show, I couldn't help, like many, to notice the steady decline of the writing and side stories that led nowhere. So let's look at some of the gossamer threads of tantalising plot that surely should have weaved into a fine garment of storytelling rather than some emperor's new clothes. So in no particular order, Cersei. We watched her evil machinations with a secret desire to see her brought down by some poetic plot twist, only to see her run and get crushed with her brother under some bricks. The dire wolves introduced in Season 1 seemed to be an interesting idea. Surely they would slowly become great defenders of the Starks and in a binding love of the family, and ultimately be a GPS for Bran's warging to let us know the family was safe or when they were in danger. No. They were told to go away or just kind of disappeared. Season 8 alone had some corkers. The Golden Company. This imposing force would prove at least some barrier to Daenerys' army. No. Decimated Dothraki and Unsullied were brought back to life in such force the Night King would be proud. Dany losing a dragon to the mighty scorpion bows that hit with deadly accuracy at a moving object in the sky from an invisible armada bobbing up and down on the sea, only for her to take them all out on her own, plus many mounted on solid walls without a scratch just a short time later. Classic. Varys. Well, his plot went nowhere. Targaryens in general, who cares? And Grey Worm. Apart from his enviable teleportation skills that saw him slitting the throats of soldiers while Jon passes, only to be at the top of a flight of stairs with no sign of being out of breath by the time Jon walks up them, he trots Tyrion out to a group of prospective leaders and tells him not to speak, whereupon Tyrion gives 2 impressive oral diatribes. Then Grey Worm says his lads will do what they want because there's no king or queen to tell them what to do, so they create one in front of him. Then he says he'll do what he bloody well likes with Jon Snow, and the group decides he will go to the Night's Watch, all while he pokes his tongue in his cheek in impotent disapproval. Comedy gold. There are many more head-scratchers like the Dothraki charge and Night King going nowhere, but I must stop or I'll be sat here all day, and there are many more books I could be ignoring. Now, I'll add my voice to what many have said recently, in that this season has been filmed beautifully, acted well, and apart from the free Starbucks advertising, it's plain to see care has been taken almost everywhere apart from the scripts and the rush to the end, which is a real shame as it's probably besmirched R.R. Martin's great concept, and most certainly put the whole thing on the same par as the series Lost did many years ago. A great concept with many interesting side plots that just ended up in a confusing, unsatisfying heap at the end. Now, I understand some of the actors are having loaded questions fired at them, and presumably, without their due diligence of seeing what is being actually said, getting on the defensive and throwing out uncalled for names to critics and protecting the hard work that went into this season, which is understandable. But if they actually listened to what is being said, perhaps they would agree. I can't help being confused by the recent attitude of companies and actors towards what must surely be their intended audience. They can't seem to understand their whole job is for the audience, their fans, the ones who have put their trust in them to create a better place to be for a time, and paid good money or advertising time for the privilege. When they disregard this fact, there's no contrition, there's no apology, there's no course correction. The tail decides it's time to wag the dog, and the dog had better like it. Similarly put, and addressing the showrunners specifically, where Game of Thrones is concerned, there are many ways to do a job, and not all of them are good. Turn up to do a spot of cleaning in someone's home and only vacuum the centre of a carpet instead of the whole thing, and sure, you turned up on time, you used the right equipment for the job, you had the correct uniform, but you're the person who's responsible for getting it done correctly, and if you can't be bothered to do it right, all the rest that was done correctly is no consolation for the overall failure. It fails on one thing being wrong, and the audience isn't stupid. But I don't expect them to listen. The same problems are bleeding into all entertainment now. It seems the entitled politically correct generation have hit mainstream. Doctor Who has changed into Sarah Jane Adventures, even with the same mixture of ethnically diverse sidekicks. Recently, a person playing a superhero decided to metaphorically vacuum the middle of the carpet while claiming she is the first her, thank you very much. And Star Wars has alienated its entire fan base. All the while the tail is telling the dog it's toxic because it won't damn well like where it's being forced to go. The thing is though, I can understand making a new franchise and handling it so poorly no one watches it, but I can't understand buying a well-established franchise with an instant fan base and running it into the ground and then blaming the very audience you bought it for. But hey, it's probably a lesson learned from politics. You get a ready-made audience paying you to create something special, and you just run everything into the ground and walk away from the wreck counting your money while blaming the people for the whole debacle. Nice work if you can get it.